Hello everyone and welcome to part 30 of my F1 22 driver career mode for the final round of the season and the series here for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Last time out in Saudi Arabia, we got ourselves some decent points and a nice comeback drive, despite some massive controversy with the crash with Max Verstappen. However, we head into this final round very, very close on points with Alonso and Gasly. Only 4 points ahead of the Ferrari and 8 points ahead of Gasly in the Red Bull there. It is the three of us that are the main three championship contenders. Technically, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen are still within mathematical range of winning, but really it's only down to the top three. You can see just a little breakdown of the season so far. Interestingly enough, myself, Alonso and Gasly all with one DNF each this season, with Alonso DNFing in China, Gasly in Canada, and myself just a couple of rounds ago in Bahrain with that engine failure. And so it's just interesting to look at how all these different scenarios and different results all lead to such a close finale here in Abu Dhabi. Now looking at the performance charts heading into this, everyone seems to have bought at least a minor upgrade to this final round. So everyone going full gun-ho at the end of the season here. Ferrari and Red Bull pretty much bang on equal. McLaren third quickest, pretty close to ourselves, Alpine and Ford. And even really the whole rest of the field is all pretty close. Red Bull and Ferrari are the main breakaway cars, but even then, again, as I've said so many times, the performance chart is so zoomed in compared to where you start off in career mode that everyone is very, very close in terms of performance. And so while we do have a little bit of a disadvantage to both of our championship rivals, it's not as bad as this performance chart makes it look because of how zoomed in it is. So it just means we're going to have that extra half a tenth in our pockets if we want to come away with this championship win. It's going to be a very, very close and exciting battle to end off F1 22, our last video, our last race in this F1 22 career mode and on the game. So if you guys are excited, make sure to get ready for what should hopefully be an exciting race here around the Abu Dhabi circuit. Obviously no rain around here. It is possible technically, I've seen it before, but none scheduled this time around. But I can confirm now we have been penalised for the contact we had with Verstappen last time out. It is a rear of grid penalty for us, and so we have a lot of work to do here in this race if we want to win this Grand Prix, starting from the very back of the grid. Meanwhile, you would assume our rivals are going to be right up near the front. So let's have a look at the grid rundown now for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Fernando Alonso alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Magnussen and Esteban Ocon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Alex Albon and Mick Schumacher, Joe, Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda and Robert Schwartzman. Latifi, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Benjamin. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So here we are lining up on the grid in P20 for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as if there isn't enough pressure heading into a season finale in a three-way battle for the championship. We're starting at the very back of the grid, and both of our rivals starting second and third. What a race this is going to be for us to try and get ourselves up there and scoring enough points to stay ahead of both Gasly and Fernando Alonso. Every lap is going to matter around here. Not a single mistake can be afforded, because who knows what this race holds, honestly. I have not felt this sort of pressure in a career mode race in a very, very long time. I don't even know what to say, really. We're going to have to pull out some magic if we want to get ourselves up towards the front of the field, and sort of have to maybe even hope for a little bit of bad luck on our rivals' parts, honestly, because those guys are going to be in pretty much clean air up the front of the field while we're trying to work our way through 20 cars to get towards the front. You can see already nailing the first bit, getting it as close to the starting spot as possible. We're going to go to 5 red lights, and we are underway very quickly here for the final round of this career mode. And it's a decent launch there. We alongside Latifi. We're going to look to the inside of both Schwartzman and Tsunoda here. There's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Luckily, no damage there. We're going to go 3 wide into turn 2 we do get ourselves ahead there, and so a very good start to already be 3 spots up in P17 here after the first 3 corners here in Abu Dhabi. Everyone battling away everywhere. We're going to have to look to the outside there just to make sure we don't make any contact with anyone around the outside of Zhou Guan Yu there. We are going to have the better run out of the corner. We're going to try and get some slipstream now off of Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. He himself has got some slipstream off Mick Schumacher. There's more battles happening everywhere else up ahead. As you can see, Stroll looks to the inside of the Haas there. He's going to get it. There's a yellow flag, so someone's had an incident somewhere. We go around the outside of the Haas. He gets himself back ahead, and there's a safety car halfway through the first round. It is a virtual safety car. It then gets upgraded to a full safety car. And that sort of slows down the chaos for now and gives you a second to breathe. Looking a bit further back, it was Yuki Tsunoda, and very last runs up the back of Nicholas Latifi in the Alfa Romeo, breaking his front wheel. Not a great way to end off the season there for the Haas driver there. As you can see here on the onboard camera, he looks like he just sort of got a bit caught out there. Tried to go down the inside of Latifi at the last second to get away from it, but it wasn't quite enough. And so, yeah, he's out of the race there. Only half a lap into turn 1. We're going to have a look now at an order check to see where everyone's at. We've also got a live standings up. You can see Verstappen leading the way ahead of Pierre Gasly, who actually got ahead of Alonso there. So it's a Red Bull 1-2 at the moment. And as it stands, Alonso will still win the championship, but by only 1 point over Pierre Gasly. So you would assume the Red Bulls would switch places to get Gasly that championship lead. It's then Alonso in third, Hamilton doing very well in his final round of the season here in P4. Leclerc and the other Ferrari in P5. Again, remembering Red Bull and Ferrari are in a battle for the Constructors' Championship, so that's something those guys have got to think about as well. Lando Norris in P6. Perez having another decent round for the Alpine here in 7th place. And then Magnussen in the Ford, also doing well there for those guys to be up in P8. Our teammate Russell all the way down in P9. Not a great way for him to end the season, sort of on form for where he has been this whole season, just sort of nowhere. And then Sainz in the Williams doing all right there at P10. Another point scoring position for those guys. They haven't quite jumped up as much as I was hoping they would when we left them at the end of season 2. But they aren't doing super terrible either. And then it's ourselves all the way down in P16 and outside of the points. But that's just a little highlight there of showing the live standings, really. And at the moment, yeah, as it stands, we aren't going to win this championship. So we've still got a lot of work to do here as we go. Heading on to lap number 4. It's a great restart for us, actually, out of the final corner. We had a really, really good launch. And so we were immediately down the inside of Mick Schumacher in the other Haas there into turn 1. And we get ourselves up into P15. So this is exactly what we need. We need to be making our way through these slower cars as quickly as we possibly can. As you can see straight away here again on lap 4, all over the back of Lance Stroll. He goes defensive into the end of the straight here, and he actually dives it on Esteban Ocon in the Alpine as well. So very brave move there for Stroll. Very frustrating for us because it's just wasting a bit of time, although maybe it even helped us in the end there because he slowed Ocon down, so we're ahead of the Aston Martin. We're also going to try and pull ahead of the Alpine here. Again, remembering no DRS just yet here, as this is the first lap on the restart. We get around the outside of Esteban Ocon there, up into P13, so already making up another 3 spots here on the safety car restart, all the way from P20 to P13 now in just the first 4 laps of the race. Now, on lap number 5, we are looking to get ahead of our fellow Aussie Daniel Ricciardo, who's actually started on the softs there, so an alternate strategy there for Daniel Ricciardo in the Ford. It'll be interesting to see how that works out for him. I don't think anyone else is on that strategy. I think every other car has started on the medium. So, yeah, I don't really know why he's gone for that strategy. But we do get the move done up into P12. And now on lap 6, we are on the back of our former teammate, Alex Albon, who hopefully doesn't make this too much of a challenge for him. We had a pretty good relationship with Albon when we were at Williams. And as you can see there, he moves a little bit to the side of the track, but nothing crazy. And so as we head into the end of the straight here, we should get the move done pretty nicely. You can see there he doesn't put up too much of a fight. And that is us up into P11. And we're now going to try and attack Carlos Sainz in the other Williams heading down this back straight. We do have DRS now. We should hopefully make this move a little bit easier. He's going to go not as defensive as he could. He goes middle of the track. I opt for the outside line there just to try and carry a bit more speed around the corner. You can see we make a nice V out of the corner there, and which gives us a really good exit. And so that is us up into P10, and already on lap 6 we are up and into the points paying position. So very, very happy with this start to the race so far. Looking a bit further ahead now on lap number 8 though, Fernando Alonso on the back of Pierre Gasly. Remember, these guys are in a championship fight. Alonso, as it stands, will win the championship. However, I don't think he'll be too comfortable with the fact that at any moment Verstappen could sort of just slow down and let Gasly past. And so he wants to make this move onto the Red Bull to try and guarantee the win, but he's run up the back of him. I don't think he was expecting Gasly to slow down as quick as he did, and so Alonso has damaged his front left end plate. It has come off of his front wing there. You'll see in just a moment in an off-board shot. He has broken that front wing. He does still have DRS though, and is very close, so he's going to try once again now into this new hairpin to go around the outside, but he doesn't have the downforce to do it with that broken front wing, and so Gasly holds position. Alonso even running wide there and has Hamilton all over the back of him. I think Alonso might have just ruined his race in trying to get ahead of one of his championship rivals. You can see this little chain that he's banking up behind him. He's got Hamilton, Leclerc, and Norris, even Perez even closing in on the back of his now, and you would have to assume in that Ferrari he's going to come into the pit lane here on lap number 8. Yes, he is, and that is an absolute disaster there for Fernando, who has very possibly ruined his chances at a championship here, his third championship that he is after here in this career mode. And yeah, that he's going to have to very much hope for a safety car or some sort of dramas for Pierre Gasly and myself. However, because of that train that he has caused, that has sort of backed Hamilton now into Charles Leclerc. So he sort of helped his teammate a bit here, but I don't think that would have been his intentions whatsoever. He would have been more focused on himself and getting that driver's championship. And he's definitely hurt Ferrari's chances at the Constructors now, as there's only one car fighting up the front for points. So Leclerc does get the move done on Hamilton. Meanwhile, a little bit further back here is Russell going for a move on Kevin Magnussen in the Ford, trying to get himself up into P7, sorry, he's in P8, trying to get into P7. They're going to go side by side here, and because of this battling that they're doing, this has allowed us to close up to the back of this, and which is exactly what we want, really. We're just trying to get as many points as we possibly can here to try and eat out of what Gasly's lead. Gasly obviously will now be in the potential championship winning position with Fernando right down and out of the points, and Russell's made the move on Magnussen. I'm going to go for a very audacious dive there on the Ford. I don't want to let my teammate get away while I get stuck battling away with Magnussen, and very luckily it was a very clean move, no contact between myself and Magnussen, and so yeah, we do get ourselves up into P8, and now we're just going to set our sights on our teammate George Russell to try and get into P7. You can see we have the DRS just a couple laps later on George as we head down this back straight. I was going to say main straight, it's not really the main straight, but the main straight isn't also really a main straight either. It's very short. But either way, the first DRS straight here that we've got, we're going to go to the outside. Russell putting up a bit more of a fight than I would have liked, but in the end, he doesn't do anything too crazy. And so that is us up into P7, and we have a little look at the live standings in just a moment here. You can see Gasly will win the championship as it stands by 4 points over myself, and then Alonso all the way down, quite a bit down, about 14 points off of Gasly. So he's got a lot of work to do. If he wants any chance of doing this, he'll definitely be waiting for some sort of safety car if he wants any sort of chance of getting some good points and challenging for the championship. Meanwhile, now on lap 13, so another couple laps later, it is time for us to come in to the pit lane for what should hopefully be our one and only pit stop of the race. We are all over the back of Sergio Perez in the Alpine. And so it is crucial for us to get as good a pit stop as possible to see if we can maybe gain a position out of this. We're going to get held up ever so slightly by Kevin Magnussen in the Ford there. However, everyone else is as well. And you can see that we've actually closed up a little bit to Lewis Hamilton there. And we have jumped Sergio Perez in the Alpine. So a very, very, very good pit stop phase for us there to get a free position. And that will save us a whole bunch of time. And we can immediately set our sights on trying to chase down Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren instead of having to try and work our way past Sergio Perez in the Alpine. It is also crucial for us to make sure that we absolutely nail this outlap on these cold hards to make sure we don't get overcut by the likes of our teammate George Russell, who will, you would imagine, come into the pit lane at the end of this lap, as well as drivers like Lando Norris, who you can see here is coming out of the pit lane pretty much alongside his teammate Lewis Hamilton. So the two McLarens are going to come out right next to each other here. Hamilton on the slightly warmer tyres, having that extra outlap to get them up to temp, does get ahead of Lando. However, Lando is very, very close to the back of his teammate. He will have DRS down this DRS straight, and so will he re-attack his teammate, or will they try and be a little more friendly to each other? I very much doubt it, as Lando is closing very quickly to the back of the 7-time champion. He's going to look to the outside as Hamilton goes defensive. They're going to go side by side through the chicane. This is perfect for us. This is very much slowing these guys down right into our grasp, which is exactly what we need. We need as much work done for us as possible, and this could be 2 free positions handed to us on a silver platter if these guys keep battling away. Lando has got the move done on Lewis Hamilton. However, unfortunately, we weren't quite able to capitalize from that battling just yet. Obviously, we were able to capitalize in terms of catching up, but we weren't able to be handed any free positions. We are still very much going to have to try and overtake these guys on our own if we want to get get ourselves up into P4 there, where Lando Norris is at the moment. We get a very good run out of the last corner there, heading on to lap 16. So we're going to go to the inside of turn 1. You don't very often see a move being pulled off there. We just had such a good run out of the corner, maybe a little mistake from Lewis even, allowing us to get right on the back of him. And so, yeah, we were able to make the send down into turn 1 to get ourselves up into P5, and now we are within DRS range of the other McLaren of Lando Norris. So can we get 2 for 1 here on the same lap from both of the McLarens? You can see we are quite a way back, but we do have the DRS deploying the little bit of battery that we have left. I've been using a lot of battery this race to try and gain as much time as I possibly can. We close right up to the back of Lando Norris here at the first DRS straight, and so we should be within attacking range in the second portion. We've got Hamilton still on the back of us, though, so we have to be very careful with how we make this move to make sure we don't allow the 7-time champion right up onto the back of us here. As we go down this back straight, he's going to go defensive, so we're going to look to the outside, but we've made this move plenty of times already this race. We squeeze him to the inside there to make sure he can't have a good corner, and we do get the move done pretty much halfway through. In fact, we even set a purple second sector there. That is how much pace we have on our car at the moment, which is very good to see as we cut now to the end of lap 19, onto lap 20. Another look at the live standings. We will now win the Drivers' Championship if things stay as it is by 2 points over Pierre Gasly. Verstappen leads the way at the moment. And so again, I don't really know why the Red Bulls haven't swapped around. Maybe Verstappen has a bit more pace than Gasly, and they're just using Verstappen to maybe tow Gasly along, because he is still under threat from Charles Leclerc in P3, and now myself in P4. I've closed up to this. We've sort of got a 4-way battle here between the 2 Red Bulls, Leclerc and myself. Yeah, with 9 laps to go, really, 9.5 laps to go as we head down this back straight here. Not quite within DRS range of Charles Leclerc just yet. However, I would imagine that's the reason Verstappen still leads the way instead of Gasly, because Verstappen just seems to have that little bit more pace than his teammate, and so he's sort of just stringing Gasly along, and I'd imagine maybe towards the end of the race, they would swap positions to try and give Gasly that championship win. But for now, as it stands, we do lead the way, but we can't just sit there and let Gasly stay in P2. We have to work our way forwards to make sure we have as much a point advantage over him as possible if that changeover does happen. Meanwhile, Alonso all the way down in P9. He is pretty much out of it. There's very low likelihood of a safety car coming out at this stage of the race. Everyone is sort of spread out. And, yeah, I imagine he will be very unhappy with himself with that move that he tried to make on Pierre Gasly. However, now, just a lap later, on lap 21, we have closed right into the back of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, and so we're going to take this opportunity to try and move ourselves onto the podium position here, get those extra valuable points. He actually doesn't go defensive there, to my surprise, so we're going to go to the inside down here. I think that's the first time we've gone to the inside in this race. We've normally gone around the outside, but that is us very successfully up into P3. Very minimal dramas at all there, getting ahead of Charles Leclerc, and for now, that means we have an even bigger advantage over Gasly in the championship, and now it is time to try and overtake Gasly to even further stamp our authority on this race and on this championship. Gasly is obviously going to go defensive here at the end of the straight. He doesn't want us to get through. We're going to try and send it around the outside of our Drivers' Championship rival. We go to the inside for the second part of the chicane. That is us up into P2, which is exactly what we want, because now we have ruined the Red Bulls' chances of trying to swap around and have Verstappen sort of do a Perez on us, if you remember back to the 2021 Real Championship, and slowing us down to help Gasly out. And in fact, actually, Leclerc even having a look at Gasly, and he is going to get him around the outside there. Great move from Charles, and Gasly is watching this Drivers' Championship slip away from him very, very quickly. We first got ourselves up in a second, and now Gasly's dropped down to 4th behind Leclerc. Meanwhile, on lap 23 now, Sergio Perez, this battle's still going on here for Perez, trying to get himself further up the field, looking to make a move on Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren. Hamilton seems to have just sort of lost his pace that he had earlier on in the Grand Prix. He goes defensive, but Perez to the outside at the end of the straight isn't quite able to get the move done by the looks of it, and so he is going to have to sit back in behind Lewis Hamilton and maybe have to wait for another lap, because he has dropped a little bit of pace there out of the corner and won't be quite close enough to go for a move. However, now on lap 24, another lap later, we are looking to take the lead of the race. This is insane start. Remember, we started at the back of the grid. Verstappen locks up a little bit. We have to make sure we don't run into him there. Very lucky he didn't run too wide. But remember, again, as I was saying, we started in P20. This has been a last to first challenge, whilst also trying to maintain the lead of the driver's standings to win the championship. Our one and only championship in F1 22. We go round the outside of Max Verstappen. Are we going to be able to pull it off? He's kept it alongside us, but we have got the move done into the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. What a dive from Max Verstappen. That came out of absolutely nowhere. We find ourselves once again side by side with the Red Bull. He's doing everything in his power to try and help his teammate by the looks of it. And we just wasn't quite enough. I've just sort of lost words there, as you could hear. We got ourselves back into the lead once again, and we now have 5 laps to try and defend from these guys who are very, very quick, and Verstappen is all over the back of us just a half a lap after we got ourselves into the lead. He is alongside us down this straight. Now we are the ones that are under attack. We are the hunted driver, as we have no DRS at the end of this straight. Verstappen is going to send it to the inside. Has he got the move done? I've run a little bit wide there with a lockup. Verstappen will have the better run out of the corner, so I'm back to second, but I'll have DRS. We've got to be careful though, because Pierre Gasly, all over the back of us, is going to try and make it 3 wide. He's boxed us in a little bit, but I just about get alongside Verstappen. It's going to be 3 wide at the end of the straight through the very quick left-hander. Can Gasly get the double overtake? Verstappen's going to let him through, as you would expect, and so Gasly all of a sudden leads the way. I'm going to dive it back to the inside of Verstappen, try and give him a bit of a taste of his own medicine, and we do get the job done into P2. Gasly leads the way now, though, and so the pressure is massively on, because I have the fastest lap at the moment. I have a bonus point. If Gasly gets the fastest lap of the race, remember, the AI very much turn up the week in the last couple laps of the race, and it is very common to see the AI set a fast lap of the race on the very last lap. So if Gasly does that, we would be equal on points, but Gasly would win the Drivers' Championship because he has won more races than me this season. So the pressure now is massively on. We cannot sit in second and just ride it to the finish line. We have to overtake Gasly if we want to guarantee winning this championship. Again, as I said on the formation lap, I have not felt this much pressure in a driver career mode for a very, very long time, as we now have about 3.5 laps to go to the end of this race. We have the DRS, we're using battery, we've got barely any left. We're going to go to the outside. Gasly has again gone defensive. We're going to try and hang it alongside him here, but we have the inside line, which means he'll have the better exit. I almost looped the car there on the corner exit because of how tight a line I had to take, but again we have the DRS. I've got very minimal battery still. We're going to go to the outside as again Gasly goes defensive. We're going to hang it around the outside of the corner, and we just about retake the lead of the race. This is an insane finish to this driver career mode, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way either. As we go through the corner, you can see we get a little pop-up. We've actually picked up a bit of floor damage there by nicking the curb. We'll get a message from our engineer now.
The underbody's taken a little damage, just watch out for it.
And so with 3 laps to go in this race, we have to defend from our championship rival with floor damage. The pressure just keeps mounting and mounting. Things keep adding on to make this race the ever more exciting. We now only have 1.5 laps to go. Lap 28 of 29. Gasly's going to send it down the inside with the help of DRS. I again have barely any battery to defend with, so Gasly gets back into the lead of the race. However, now in the second part of this straight, we're going to have the DRS. He's going to be very slow. He doesn't go defensive enough early enough, so we go to the inside, we drain the battery to get ourselves back into the lead, and now there is really only one more lap for Gasly to try and pull this off. And wow, it's going to come down to the very last lap of this career to decide if we get a Drivers' Championship or not. Here we are, lap 29 of 29, and even if he does get ahead of us here, he'll have passed us with DRS, which you would assume would mean he will set a fastest lap, and we cannot let that happen. As I've already explained, we're going to head down to the first braking zone on a DRS straight here. He stays tucked in behind us, potentially not wanting to lose time to make sure he sets that fastest lap of the race if he's able to get ahead. And now we'll head down the second DRS straight. He's all over the back of us. He's closing very, very quickly in that Red Bull. I'm going to go defensive. He's going to go to the outside. He'll have the outside of the corner. We're going to go side by side with each other with less than half a lap to go to decide the Drivers' Championship here at the end of Season 3 of F1 22. He forces us onto that curb on corner entry. I go on the curb on the corner exit as well. We're going to keep it side by side, but I'm just ahead. I'm going to pull ahead of the Red Bull. And so now with 2 corners to go even, we just have to bring it home. Finally, after 30 races, 3 seasons in this career mode, we'll round the final corner to win the Drivers' Championship.
With that, Another year of Formula One draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. They've done it then. Victory in the last race of the season, and the championship as well. What a phenomenal end to a terrific Formula One season. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners.
So here we are with the results for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and what a race to cap off our F1 22 driver career mode. We win the race with the fastest lap over our rival Pierre Gasly to get our one and only Drivers' Championship in the F1 22 game. Verstappen was in P3, Leclerc P4 for Ferrari, Norris P5, Perez P6, the other McLaren of Hamilton in P7, Russell all the way down in P8, and that's really the story of the season for him, isn't it? Alonso, unfortunately, with that incident early on, ended up down in P9. It was a good recovery, but not enough to get himself back involved in the championship fight. And Magnussen rounds out the points for Ford. A pretty decent season for them, considering it was their first season in F1. In terms of the driver standings, as I've already confirmed, we win the driver standings, 16 points over Gasly in the end there with that race win and fast lap point. And then Alonso holds on to a P3 in the end there. Verstappen, P4, very nearly got Alonso for third place. So Alonso doing very well there to hold on in the end. And then Lando Norris, P5. Russell all the way down in P7, 88 points off myself. Again, just summarising how horrible of a season he has had. I don't know what happened heading into Season 3 here. I really thought heading into this season we would be the dream team up there doing very, very good things. But for some reason his form just completely fell off. He was very good in the first two seasons. But yeah, here in Season 3, it just wasn't meant to be for him, unfortunately. The two Fords, Ricciardo and Magnussen, P10 and 11, again, very good for their first season. In terms of constructors, Red Bull did end up taking it away there again. Alonso sort of just letting the team down there after having to come in very early for that pit stop and not quite being able to recover to the front of the field. So Red Bull first, Ferrari second, only 23 points back in the end, and then ourselves in Mercedes. We did lead the constructors at some point in the season, but in the end, again, with Russell's poor performances, I sort of had to carry the team on my shoulders a bit, and we end up down in P3, 39 points off the lead. And then it was McLaren 4th, Alpine 5th, Ford's 6th, Alfa Romeo's in 7th, Haas 8th, Williams 9th, and Aston Martin round out the season in 10th, having only scored 5 points. A very disappointing season for them. But there you go, there is our Drivers' Championship trophy, and so I guess you can call this career mode a success. We set out as a Williams driver in the Mercedes Academy with goals and aspirations to get to Mercedes and win the Drivers' Championship, and that is what we have done here in the final episode of the career mode, calling it very, very close there just before the launch of F1 23. But if you guys have enjoyed this video and this career mode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you all the next time. Goodbye.